Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone, my name is Dzihni Azka Sabila and this is my partner.
My name is Iqlima Najmi.
We will tell you the story about the Battle of Uhud.
Okay, for the first session, please welcome the Prodi Sabila.
Thank you. This page tells us about what, when, where, why, who, and how the Battle of Uhud was happened. The Battle of Uhud is the first defeat in Islam. The Battle of Uhud was a great testing time for Muslims. The Meccan unbelievers had suffered a bitter defeat in the Battle of Badr. They planned to wipe off their shame and to attack the Muslim in Medina. To this end, they prepared a large force and marched on the way to Medina. They numbered about 3,000 fighters under Abu Sufyan. They were so sure of victory that they took their wives with them. To protect the city, the Prophet decided to meet them outside Medina. The Prophet's army took its station at the foot of Mount Uhud, which lies about 3 miles from Medina. Early in the morning of the 7th of Shawwal after Hijriah, the Prophet made preparation for the battle. 50 archers took their position on a hill to protect the rear of the Muslim army. They were instructed by the Prophet to never leave their post. At the beginning, the battle went well for the Muslim and the enemy drew back. When the archers saw this, they thought that the battle was over and left their post to run after the enemy and to get their shares in the spoils. A party of enemy horsemen led by Khalid bin Walid, who had not yet adopted Islam, took the change and came fighting, and the messenger of Allah was wounded. Many of his companions were killed, including Hamza, his uncle. According to the Quran, the martyrs in the cause of Islam are not dead, but they are alive in heaven. And the next part will be conveyed by Najmi. Najmi, it's your turn now.
Okay. Let's move to the next session. In fact, if it had not been for Allah's grace and His messengers' bravery, all would have been lost. Rumors spread among the troops that the Prophet had been killed. But soon, the rumor proved to be false when the Muslim fighters saw the Prophet still fighting bravely in spite of his wound. This restored them and their courage. They resumed fighting until the fall of darkness. On the following morning, Abu Sufyan learned that the Prophet had reorganized by what happened the day before. He lost hope of winning the battle and withdrew his force from the battlefield. Medina was saved, and the Muslims learned a significant lesson. For us, this latter day, the Battle of Uhud carries a greater lesson. That is, Allah's help will certainly come if we have faith, obedience, and unity. If we fail, His mercy is always open to us. So it's the end of the story. Next, we will continue the material and move to the language study. The topic of language study is about conditional sentences type 3. Conditional sentences used when we want to imagine or suppose a situation that refers what had actually happened in the past. In conditional sentences type 3, the if clause is in the past perfect tense, that is had plus past participle, and the main clause is in the perfect conditional tense, that is would have plus past participle. The example is, if it had not been for Allah's grace, all would have been lost, and if you had told me yesterday, I would have prepared everything. Next is omission of if. In this type of sentences, if may be omitted. The sentence can begin with had or but for. The example is, had it not been for God's grace, all would have been lost. Or, but for God's grace, all would have been lost. Alright, so that is the last material.
Okay guys, we have some question and you can answer by
Write down in the comment section below.
So, the first question is, how did unbelievers intend to wipe out their shame?
The second question is, why did the Prophet decided to meet them outside Medina?
And the third question is, what were the Prophet's instructions to the archers?
And the last question is, did the archers take their position on hill?
So, don't forget to answer this question, okay?
Yes. Alright guys, maybe enough from us.
Thank you for your attention.
Don't forget to
Like, comment, and subscribe. See you in the next video.
Bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.